Hello and welcome. My name's Jody, and today my promise is to show you how to have more fun, rewarding global travel experiences for 70% less than the cost of staying at home. Now look, I really appreciate your time that you're giving to watch this presentation, but I want to kick things off with a really short little video from some of our community members who in last September just held up their phone and recorded where they are in the world. So just so you can get a sense and a feel that there's plenty of people out there living a travel lifestyle.
Sawadee Krab.
From Comac, Thailand.
Bonjour, on est à Albi dans le sud de la France.
G'day from Sydney, Australia.
Hello from the Kootenays.
British Columbia, Canada.
Konnichiwa, I'm Heather and I'm in Tokyo, Japan.
We are in 𝗣𝗲𝗄, Switzerland.
We're in the North Dorset countryside.
We're in Pátzcuaro in Michoacán, Mexico.
My name is Tim and I'm in Bangkok, Thailand.
We're at a 1750s convent in northern France.
Estoy en Mexico.
Where am I?
I'm in Coimbra, Portugal.
I'm in Hampshire, England.
And we're at Stanford University campus in Palo Alto, California.
We're in Kirkintilloch, Scotland.
Yo-ho!
The cute blonde there who didn't realise that she was in Paris is actually my better half, Nat. And normally we do these presentations together, but I just want to point out that we've already helped hundreds of people all around the world since we first started living a travel lifestyle. And we've met up live in person and do regular online Zoom calls. And it's just really sweet to get some of this feedback, like Janet Lee says here. Nat and Jody have helped us take what was a hobby into a full-time travel lifestyle. Thanks so much, ladies. What a gift. So let's get into it. In the next 32 minutes, you'll know our top 3 travel lifestyle secrets that enable us to travel the globe full-time for 7 years so far. We're actually in our 8th year now, and for next to nothing. And how you can do it too. This is not about staying in budget hotels, joining travel rewards clubs, saving coupons for vacation deals, racking up credit card bills, or drying up all your hard-earned savings. What this is about is knowing it's possible to travel the world full-time, part-time, or anytime for a lot less than what it costs you to stay at home only dreaming about travel. Now, what we're talking about here is a slower, more immersive type of travel. So I just want you to feel into this for a moment and see if this feels right for you. How about spending 3 months on Barbados in the Caribbean? Or what about 2 months on the Aegean Sea in Greece? Or 6 weeks in Tasmania, Australia, right on the beach. Perhaps going back to the Caribbean is more your style for 4 weeks on St. Lucia, 5 months in Mexico, 2 months in Colorado with a ski run right at the end of the street, or 6 weeks in Peru in the Sacred Valley, literally half an hour down the road from Machu Picchu. The reality is that there are thousands of people traveling the world right now and staying in amazing places for free. So that's going to be the first secret we're going to tell you about. And you might even know what that one is already. That the person sitting next to you on any flight could have paid just a fraction of what you paid for your seat. That's our second secret. And the facts are that our global travel is at least 70% cheaper than the cost of living in a fixed location. And by cutting your travel costs this much, it takes very little effort or resources to fund your world travels. And we'll talk about that in secret number 3. And just so you know what we're talking about, our 7 years of full-time travel has actually cost us on average just $2,214 each per year. Okay, so as I said, we're in our 8th year now, and we've kept track of all of our spending. But the reason for actually sharing this information with you today is that in 2018, we came across this report from the AARP that said that 40% of their members are saying that cost is the major barrier stopping them from enjoying more domestic and international travel. And we find that so sad. And really, we want to ask right now, why is this so? Have you ever thought, when I have enough money, I'll go and travel? Or when I retire, that's when I'll have the resources to do it? Or when I win the lottery, then I'll be able to. It's not hard to see why that most of us actually believe that travel is expensive, yet it doesn't have to be. And we know this from actually doing it, just like Eden and Denny have done. Now, they were living in Southern California and they made a decision that their retirement plan was to live a more comfortable lifestyle. So they first lived in Belize and it wasn't quite right for them. So then they went down to Nicaragua to check that out. And their expat lifestyle was literally half the cost of living in the USA. So they were doing really well. But then they came across these secrets and they started living their own travel lifestyle. And that was at least 5 years ago now. And now their cost of living is literally a quarter of their US living expenses, which is pretty amazing. So I want you to think about now, if it is cost that's holding you back, I've got a little story to tell you. And that is that Nat and I started our own world travels with just $300. And in order to keep going, we've lived off what we earn online. And with having cut our travel costs to less than $3,000 a year, we've just decided to keep on going. Well, if you're scratching your head at the moment going, it's not possible, how can you just start with $300? A disclaimer, first off, this is not the recommended path to follow, okay? But basically we found ourselves in a position in February 2013 where we literally had no credit available. Our credit cards were totally maxed out. We had dried up all of our savings and we had really pretty much next to no real income coming in. What we did have was a one-way flight and the equivalent of just $300 US. So for this to all make sense, I kind of have to explain where it all began. Basically, I don't think there's too many people that actually can say, hey, we've got a video on YouTube of the day that we met. So back in 2010, we were at an event and the first time I met Nat was actually interviewing her to get her feedback on what the event was about. So it's kind of this nice piece of history that we've got sitting on YouTube to always remind us. But as we started to get to know each other, we started to realize that we had a hell of a lot in common. The main thing being that on her walls in her house, she had them plastered with National Geographic maps. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, where have you been? Where do you want to go? And we just sat for hours talking about all of our travel dreams. And then something incredible happened. She was offered a job in Dubai in the Middle East. And when she asked me if I'd like to go with her, we both just sat there and went, this is the most amazing opportunity for travel. I mean, look where Dubai is. It's so close to Turkey and Greece and Egypt and even back to Asia. I mean, when you come from Australia, everywhere else in the world seems so far away. So this was super exciting. And so naturally I said yes, this was such an exciting opportunity and we couldn't wait to get there. So in October 2011, we left Sydney Airport. And we arrived into what we affectionately call the make-believe city of Dubai. Now, when we first got there, we got ourselves set up into this apartment at Dubai Marina. It was pretty amazing. We started doing all the cool stuff that Dubai offers, trying it all out. You know, tried some shisha, got our henna tattoos, went out and did a desert safari. Everything was fantastic. But then everything started going a bit pear-shaped because I only had a tourist visa. So every 30 days I was having to do a border run, like literally leave the country and come back in again. And this obviously was not going to be sustainable. So Nat's boss at the time saw this as being like, hey, this is an issue and you're not the only one dealing with this. I've got a few friends that I need to get residency visas for as well. And here's a solution. Why don't we start a company in Media City, which just happens to be one of the most expensive places to start a company. And then, oh, Jodie, you can just run it and you'll all get your visas and everything will be fine. Well, it wasn't. So I was under a lot of pressure and I didn't even know if I really wanted to be doing it. You know, I reluctantly said yes to this whole thing. I took on the responsibility that had me on a visa that locked me into the company as well. And basically, Nat was kind of really feeling the pressure I was under and she decided to leave her job and come and help out in the business, which of course sent her boss into a bit of a spin saying, well, I'm out. And after 3 months, he was asking for all of his investment back, which put us under a lot of pressure. And we had 12-month bills on everything. And fair to say, we lost everything, which is how we found ourselves there in our early 40s in this highly embarrassing situation of having pretty much nothing left to our names. And I think this quote from Napoleon Hill kind of sums it up. When defeat comes, accept it as a signal that your plans are not sound. That they weren't. Rebuild those plans and set sail once more towards your coveted goal. So that made us ask the question, what exactly was our coveted goal to start with? Why did we even go to the Middle East in the first place? And of course, it was to travel. And honestly, we cannot tell you how grateful we are that it didn't work out in Dubai, because if everything had gone to that original plan, we would have only ever been taking short vacations nearby instead of living this amazing travel lifestyle that we've led for the last 7 years. But as you can imagine, we were in a pretty sticky situation. So it was like such a sliding doors moment. I don't know if you've seen that movie or not, but basically, what if one split second sent your life in two completely different directions? That was what it felt like. We literally were standing there with nothing going, do we borrow money and go back to Australia and start all over again with egg all over our faces, just going, oh my God, it's going to take forever to be able to get out and live the travel lifestyle that we want? Or do we just figure out a way to start doing it now? We went for the latter. And I'm about to share with you exactly what we did to be able to go to 8 different countries in 2013, spending only $3,042 each for the entire year. Okay, so how did we do it? Well, we decided to trust our ability to just be able to figure stuff out and follow our intuition. I mean, that was the course that we first met at back in 2010. It was all about trusting our intuition. And as you could probably imagine, we learnt a hell of a lot from all the mistakes that we made along the way. But we just kept going. In 2014, we hit up 6 countries, and this is like living in these countries. Still crossed the Atlantic a couple of times, only spent $2,520 each. So we definitely got a little bit better at what we were doing, but really it all comes down to secret number 1. And the fact is that there are thousands of people traveling the world right now, staying in amazing places absolutely for free. All thanks to international house sitting. So if you've seen any of our videos on YouTube, you probably already knew that this was our key thing. But let's talk about it. So the fact is that accommodation really is the most expensive part of travel. So when you remove or reduce just these costs, then world travel instantly becomes doable. And we have our own proof by living it. Since early 2013, we've enjoyed 95% free accommodation all over the world with international house sitting. It's funny though when you reflect, because it's like I was definitely slow to wake up. Back in Australia, I'd actually already enjoyed a 5-week house sit in Sydney that I found on the 𝗢𝗲 platform before we even moved to Dubai. And just so you know, I've included a platform discount to the 𝗢𝗲 platform in your free gift, your free resource guide that you can download by sticking around to the end. Now, I'm not the type of person to say, you know, I regret anything that I've done or not done, but I do like to bring the perspective of wisdom in hindsight. And honestly, like with the experience that we went through, I am kind of kicking myself about not realizing that international house sitting is actually a thing, and that it is the most truly rewarding way to travel the world virtually for free. But I didn't know that. You know, I didn't have a presentation like this to watch way back then. So I had some pretty costly beliefs under my belt. And, you know, to be honest, it's quite normal to assume that world travel is expensive. I mean, you probably know people in your life like I do, like my own parents and even Nat's parents. You know, they've had these once-a-year travel experiences for the last 15 years that have cost them something like 10 to 20 grand just for, say, 4 to 6 weeks of some kind of organized tour. So you have these little things going on in your awareness and you're just like, well, yeah, okay. Travel has definitely got to be expensive. I mean, and we believed it so much that we even went to Dubai in the first place, you know, with this grand plan of making our riches in order to then be able to travel one day. But of course, as you know, that belief resulted in complete and utter financial ruin for us. So I'm here today just to remind you that if you have that wanderlust desire, you know, these quotes are fantastic, aren't they? The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page. Oh, makes my heart sing, that one. And we travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us. This is an inherent sort of part of our DNA. And if you have this wanderlust desire, I really hope that what I'm sharing with you today will help ignite the doability, if that's even a word, that you can get out and live a travel lifestyle. So let me just introduce you to Glenn and Jacqueline from lamseytravels.com. I was reading their blog recently, and they actually did 11 countries in 2019, spending just $31.73 US a day, And that's all inclusive. That's with their house sitting mixed in with their travels and their tours and car hire, food, transport, and they even get business class upgrades, which is what this photo is about. So just one thing that Glenn wrote, ages and ages ago, is that they did what they call an adult gap year, where they did a try before you buy just to see if it was right for them. And they found out that they could be a lot smarter because that's where they came across a lot of these travel secrets. But ultimately, from that first adult gap year through to now, I think they've been on the road full time for 4 or 5 years themselves. So as for us, we compared directly to what we last paid in rent, which was approximately $16,000 a year, so say $300 a week, plus utilities. So, that $300 a week does not include the electricity, the internet, the gas, the etc. And the craziest part is that the homes that we get to enjoy while international house sitting are generally worth a hell of a lot more than just $300 a week. If you remember those images I showed before of St. Lucia, Mexico, Colorado, Peru, Greece, Barbados, and even Australia, every single one of them has been one of our house sits over the years, and it still just blows us away that this is our life. But it's not just about saving money. I mean, that's been a key thing for us considering where we started, but it has been so much more than that. It is literally the most rewarding aspect of our lives. I think one of the biggest highlights for us is getting to feel like you're immersed into a local community or a local culture. Getting to meet the expats that have moved to a different country to see their retirement years out, like the lady who painted this picture of us in Costa Rica. Being able to get out and just have fun with the animals. I mean, this boy is my favorite boy. His name's Arthur, and he was just the most cuddliest thing ever. He's a Groodle, or otherwise known as a golden doodle, and being able to get down to the local park and meet other dog owners. It's a very social environment. We get to have time with friends. Some house sits will allow you to have friends come and stay with you. That was in Mexico. There's Nat enjoying a nice cold beer in the amazing pool that we had at the home there in St. Lucia. And I just had to take this photo. This was actually in the Athens airport. It was a Johnny Walker ad, but I really love what it says. Travel plans will get you there, joy will get you further. And I think it's the joy in this that has just kept us going all these years. And for us personally, the biggest joy is being with the animals. We absolutely love receiving and giving unconditional love to all of our fur babies all over the world. And it's not just the animals. We're meeting and connecting and making great friendships with the homeowners who entrust us to take over their lives, to take over the running of their house and the caring and loving of their pets. It's just incredible. Plus, of course, we get to meet with our fellow travel lifestylers in different locations around the world. I don't know, I can't say enough, but what I will say is that if this is not gelling with you, if you are not a pet lover, then perhaps you need to be looking at alternative travel hacks for your accommodation. And there are plenty out there as well. But we're big believers in the concept of qualia, which basically means you don't ever know something until you have a direct experience of it. So even if you're sitting there saying, I don't like pets, or I wouldn't like to be in somebody else's home, or I think this is all too weird, basically our absolute belief is that international house sitting is for anyone, 100%, but it is absolutely not for everyone. And perhaps it takes the doing, the actual having a direct experience, for you to make the decision about that yourself. So when I say international house sitting is for anyone, here's some examples. So Tim and Amy, to start with, they couldn't get going when they first learned about this because they had their daughter still in high school. So they actually have been preparing for 4 years and recently just finally sold up everything, packed up everything, got away, and they are now full-time travel lifestylers. But during that 4 years, they experienced some local house sits, some international house sits, and just kept gathering their references and getting better and better at their travel hacking and knowing what it is that they were wanting to experience in their early retirement. I mean, these guys retired in their 40s. It's so impressive. Andrew and Christopher first left Australia to go to New Zealand so that they could look for that place that they might want to move to when retirement was to hit. Not that Andrew was anywhere near retirement, but they definitely were over in New Zealand and they came across all these travel secrets and house sitting in particular, and now they've become global wanderers, which is actually the name of their website as well. If you've got an interest in travel and travel blogging, you may actually already know this couple. This is Mike and Ann Howard from Honey Trek, pretty much officially the world's longest honeymooners. They set out in 2012 to start their honeymoon and just haven't stopped. When they were introduced to us in, I think it was 2015, they started adding house sitting to their mix and have been able to use that. We'll talk about that in a little while, how they've been able to use house sitting, because they are major adventure travelers. Gail and Randy, they were incredible. They had this amazing lifestyle home that they realized one day was just too big. They weren't going to use it. They were too far away from their kids and their future grandkids, and just decided to sell up everything, hit the road, and become travel lifestylers. But recently, after doing this for 5 years, they've funnily enough gone back and found a smaller, nice place that they can live in for just a few months a year and go traveling outside of that. Yvonne and Michael, they've been doing this even longer than us. We know them as the Caribbean experts. They get some incredible house sits in the Caribbean, and it's open to families. I mean, these guys are the expat experiment family, Rob and Tracy and Mac Tullis. So Mac has actually grown up world schooling, and he was so little when he started, and now he's almost a teenager. It's truly incredible. They've been going at it for so long. Then, of course, there's the singles like Taylor and Alan. You know, Taylor started in her 20s, Alan's in his 30s. And, of course, all the single ladies. Let's hear it for the single ladies. Actually, I've got to be honest, Vanessa there holding the pink drink, she travels with her partner. But the other girls, they all do it on their own. And, yeah, love catching up and meeting up with their kindred spirits and like minds. It is such a rewarding experience. So I want to get into a little bit of the how-tos here. Back when we started, sites like this didn't exist, but this is a really great place for you to start. So you can come to housesitsearch.com and literally just scroll through and have a look at what is available around the world. It will blow your mind. It's probably the closest thing to what we experienced when we first started thinking, is this how we can get out of Dubai? Is this our answer? Is this what's shown up to show us the way? And we did. We were scrolling through and we found a place in Koh Samui in Thailand. There's a place in Panama with like monkeys in the jungle in the backyard. And there was Southwest France. And we actually applied to all of them. And the first ones to come back to us were the multi-million-dollar homeowners in Southwest France. Their massive property was surrounded by vineyards. They had a 20-meter infinity pool. The whole entire home had been completely renovated. It was just incredible. We had 4 months here. This is where it all started for us. Being chosen to be the people to take care of this incredible property and their pets absolutely for free. This is a free exchange. Please don't think that international house sitting is about getting a job. It is not. This is part of the trust economy, and that's why it's so unique and it's so special. So if you're looking to getting paid to travel the world, it's not going to happen through this particular path. Yes, you can get paid to be a domestic house sitter, and if you go down that route, that's totally fine. But as international sitters, there are many reasons why you don't want to get paid, and we talk about that a lot in our community. Pretty much everybody within our community is more than happy to work off the fair exchange aspect. I mean, look, we're in a multi-million euro home for 4 months through 3 different seasons. It was absolutely incredible. And considering where we'd come from after the trauma of 16 months in Dubai of losing absolutely everything, and then learning to slow down, to live like the French live at a lot slower pace, we were hooked, and we asked the question, what would it take for us to just keep doing this? And that's where we come across secret number 2, which is travel hacking. Whether you're aware of it or not, the person sitting next to you on your last flight could have paid a fraction of what you paid for your seat. And this is the fact that flights and transport are the next biggest travel expense. So when you reduce these costs as well, you're absolutely on your way. Now, we do this without points. We don't have credit cards. After our Dubai debacle, nothing's left. But we've still been able to save a fortune on our flights by learning flight route hacking. It's a specific element of travel hacking. And that came with learning the first 3 top tips, which are always book one-way flights and rent your onward tickets. The second thing is forget the idea of round the world tickets. If you're looking at a travel lifestyle, you do not want to be locking yourself in to having set dates, set times, only being able to go one way. They've got so many rules, and honestly, they very rarely cost less than just being able to book as you need. And the third one is to start to think about breaking your trip up into separate segments and stay in a new place en route. It's about getting slower, more immersive travel into your life. That's the game changer. That's what changes your mind, your heart, your experience of the world. And it's not an easy concept to grasp, because when we've always been raised with the idea of just taking a vacation here, 1 week, 2 weeks, bang, in, out, gone, this is a whole different thing. So there's a lot to learn with it. But if this is what you're looking for, it can absolutely be yours. So I just want to come back to the flight route hacking just to give you a really simple example. Like, this is the really basic version of it. So say you needed to get from New York to, you're going to Machu Picchu. So you're going to fly into Cusco in Peru. And you look up and you see that the flight one way is New York to Cusco for $288. But that flight has a stopover in Lima. It'll show you that right there. So for like just an extra minute of your time, you can look up, okay, well, what's the flight from New York to Lima? And then what is the search from Lima to Cusco? And that's where we found a segmented flight that ended up costing only $159. So that's just a really simple example of how to save money straight off the bat with flight route hacking. So remember back in 2013, our first year, when we were trying to just figure all this stuff out on our own, where we spent $3,042 for the year with our flights and accommodation? Well, guess what? In 2019, we had reduced our expenditure to almost half. We've dropped that to $1,769 each, and we managed to take in 10 countries. Now, on top of that 10 countries, we actually had 12 major cities. It still blows our mind that we'd started the year with the Australian Open and Australia Day in Melbourne, and then we spent some time in Sydney before we flew into Bangkok to celebrate Nat's 50th birthday. Then we had a couple of months in Singapore, followed by 5 weeks in Vietnam, then over to Malaysia, where we got to spend time in both KL and in Penang. From Penang, we headed to Europe with Belgium for 3 months in Belgium. I don't even know how we fitted in France and the UK. And for Christmas and New Year, we were in Scotland, had our first Hogmanay experience. Then we crossed the pond and came over to Canada and the US. It's been an incredible year, and look how much we spent. It's just ridiculous. Just a quick story. So we actually were doing a house sit. It was only a short one in the UK for Anna, and we were telling her about the flight that we got from Asia into Europe, and she was like, oh wow, like how do you do that? So we talked a little bit, and then I get this message on Facebook saying, hey Jodie, I wonder if you have any ideas. I need to go to New Zealand around the 2nd of February. I know that you and Nat are good at this sort of thing. The tickets that I've found are $1,000 one way, which is just too much. And it's from Manchester, UK to Christchurch, New Zealand. So I said, yep, no worries. So I had a quick look and I gave her some details, and I said, look, I recommend that you just check it on Tuesday. I think it was like on the weekend that I was searching. And she did. She had the whole itinerary in her hand, and she came back and answered, and she said, the price went down quite a bit today, so I booked the flight. Really chuffed with the price. Thanks for finding that for me. And I said, okay, is it the same flight? You know, Air Canada with Air New Zealand, which are great airlines, by the way. And she says, yep, £718 total. That's return. So she had gone from looking at £1,000 each way, so a £2,000 trip, down to $718. That's over £1,200 saved just in that one little interaction. And she says here, I think this is the cheapest flight that I've ever had to New Zealand, and during this summer, which is usually more expensive. So this stuff works. Now, you may be familiar with these sites, Skyscanner, which I mentioned before, or Kiwi.com. Now, the art of flight route hacking is about getting familiar with sites like these and knowing how to use their different search functions to be able to dig for the gold and find the really great fares. But the thing is that there's new sites and apps coming out all the time. So I did mention before that we went from Penang via Bangkok into Milan for just $307. That was what had Anna actually asking us how to book her flights for her. And so I can keep going and make sure we get all this information out to you. Just remember to stay till the end, because we've got even more travel hacks and discount codes available for you in the free resource guide that we've got available. So the next question is, have you got credit cards? Now, we don't, as you probably realize why, but if you do, and particularly if you come from the United States, then you can tap into the amazing frequent flyer and points reward strategies where you pay no more than $100 to fly anywhere in the world. Now, the US has definitely got the advantage. Australia, Canada, UK, they get some benefits, but they certainly don't come anywhere near what the US offers. So you guys have definitely got it good. But of course, there is an entirely different science on how to actually really make the most of travel hacking with points. And a few of our community members are absolutely experts in it. This is what they do all the time. Remember Tim and Amy? That's what they've been doing for the last 4 years. So I know we're flying through this and there's a lot to cover, but pretty much overall now, if you can save money on your accommodation and you can save money on your flights, obviously I've opened the door to the possibilities here of having world travel be really, really affordable. And like in our case, and particularly Eden and Denny's case, up to 70% cheaper than the cost of living home, if not more. But it's not all just about making the savings. Many of us, like us, have to make money on the way as well. Which brings us to a really important question. Would you love to fund your travel lifestyle without dipping into your savings, selling off your assets, or racking up your credit card bills? Brings us to secret number 3. Learn to earn an online roaming income. That is exactly what we had to do. We did it in that first year. I don't know how, considering that I was having to teach somebody who hated computers. So this photo of Nat here is really, really important. This is literally taken in our first year. And she's sitting outside with the jungle of Costa Rica all around her, actually enjoying being on the computer. Because she changed her values. She changed her values to being, if I can have this freedom lifestyle, I will learn what I need to learn in order to make money online. She's done such an amazing job over the years. She is literally taught herself to become like a web developer and a designer, and she's just incredible. So yes, you can learn this, but we're fully aware that not everybody needs to. But just stick with us for a second because I've got another couple of stories to share. The first one being that, remember that multi-million euro home that we were at? Well, when we're sitting there for 4 months surrounded by absolute abundance, we were struggling so much financially that we were cutting each other's hair with kitchen scissors. This is a screenshot taken from a YouTube video. Go and look it up if you feel to. But yes, we were cutting each other's hair with kitchen scissors because we couldn't afford to go to the hairdresser. So we certainly got to change our focus and values, but we knew that putting lifestyle first was the thing that we focused on the most. So we were going to do everything that it took in order to learn what we needed to learn to be able to create an income from anywhere. One thing that we wish we had have done, which would have made everything a lot easier, and of course this is one of those wisdom in hindsight kind of things, is we didn't actually calculate what it cost us to do this because we didn't know. We were only just having direct experience day by day, working it out as we go. But now that we've got all this knowledge from all these people that do this, you know, there's so many people that will say, look, we can travel the world on $35 a day. If you multiply that by 365 days, it is only $12,775. That means for a couple, $25,550 per annum or per year. So only you can answer this question. Do you need to earn or just top up? Now, I probably should have shared this slide earlier, but I've got here myth-busting proof because Jane and Duncan were literally on a mission to prove that they could actually travel for less than $35 a day. And they sat there and calculated that their life at home was costing $122 a day. And they kind of like went and looked at it from another perspective and said, okay, well, you know, we're not going to get the pension for a good number of years, but the Australian age pension pays about the equivalent, funnily enough, $35 a day. So they thought, let's test out and see if it's possible to travel the world together for $70 a day. So they headed off, they started their travel blog while they did it, they kept all their information together there, and for 4 years running, they achieved that goal of $25,550. Now, they don't even house sit full time. So while they retired early, they downsized, they sold their house. They first went to, you know, from a 4-bedroom house to a 2-bedroom unit, then got rid of that as well. And, you know, they didn't really need to have the income because they'd already proven that they can live around the world for pretty much what they were earning anyway. but their travel blog has been able to create a whole different income with a whole different life path. And that's just what so many of our community do. They do start their travel blog to document their whole entire journey. So another question that we never got a chance to ask ourselves, and again, wisdom in hindsight, is to consider your time input. If you're going to have an active income, which literally just means trading time for money, how many hours do you want to put into that? If you're wanting a more leveraged income, you might need to learn how to do that, or at least learn what it is, so that you can literally do the work up front once, and maybe like getting into a house sit, spending some time on that, and then knowing that in future you don't have to do a hell of a lot of work to have money coming in. And then of course the holy grail is having that passive or residual income. So you need to really weigh all that up and decide what it is that you need. Because these days, having a location independent, aka roaming income, is so doable and so real, and it's not even a weird thing anymore. Everybody knows about this. You can actually be a remote employee. You can do consulting or coaching, freelance service providing. You can become a travel blogger like Jane and Duncan, or an author, spend time writing your books. Remember Yvonne and Michael, the Caribbean experts? They write a lot of books and put them up onto Amazon. You can be a YouTuber, a podcaster, affiliate marketer, or even have your own e-commerce or dropshipping store online as well. There's just so many options. It's incredible. But maybe just consider, is this going to be like a hobby income for you or a business? The thing is, for us, whether it be a mistake that we made or whether it be just literally where we were at the time, is we looked at everything that we did as a creative project. And travel is such a catalyst for creativity. And house sitting provides the time and the space to create. So I just want to circle back to the honey trek couple, the world's longest honeymooners. So when they first came to us and started learning about house sitting, they actually had been doing so much adventure travel, and their blog was really starting to get momentum. They were getting sponsored by Microsoft, and basically they just needed some time to catch up on all their work. House sitting gave that to them. They weren't going from hotel to hotel or, travel experience to travel experience. They were able to settle down for a couple of months and get in and start writing. And what they produced first was a National Geographic book. It is unbelievable, and they asked us to be featured in it along with 11 other couples. And you can get this in any major bookstore, and it just made our day to know that we are actually in a printed book with National Geographic. And even though they went and bought a RV, a camper, and started doing this whole research project for their next book, Comfortably Wild, they still take on house sits in between because it gives them a chance to relax and settle down and not have to worry about, where am I going to eat or how am I going to do my washing, because they've got their kitchen and they've got their washing machine and they've got this relaxation and the time out with pets as well to just be able to focus. I mean, one of the biggest things that we hear about people with creative projects is, there's a book in all of us, and if you've always wanted to write, then house sitting provides you the best creative space to do that. So we talked about Tim and Amy before as well. We met up with them in 2016, and their website, Go With Less, was originally going to be a blog until they realized that they were so busy being volunteers and doing all this amazing stuff in their early retirement. So FIRE stands for Financially Independent, Retire Early. They did all that in their 40s, and they were like, well, we can commit to creating one video a week. The work that they did before they were able to start their travel lifestyle has actually created them a $2,000 plus income every single month. They've got over 11,000 subscribers on YouTube now. They don't do any sort of business. They probably do a little bit of affiliate marketing now, but when they started, they had no affiliate marketing. It was just literally through YouTube only. And again, they didn't actually need the money because they're financially independent, but nobody's ever going to say no to some extra dosh coming in, are they? So now we want to go back to people who are not even close to being ready to retire. So Taylor started her travels by becoming a virtual assistant working from home to start with. She was in her 20s. And when she started traveling with house sitting, her first stop was New Zealand. She was there for months and months and months. And she realized that doing work for other people, like having that real remote, even though she was working for herself, she was working for other people. and she was like, I need to cut down my hours. So she cut down to about 20 hours so that she could spend time not just with her travels, but starting to build that more leveraged type of income, which can come from having a travel blog. But she went one step further and created an Amazon store and was selling this amazing facial massager, and she did really well. So that photo of her jumping there, I took that on the beach in Victoria, Australia, and yeah, it was the day that she actually sold out, did her first shipment selling out of her product. It was pretty amazing. This other photo was taken in Vietnam. We've now caught up with Taylor on 3 different countries, 3 different continents. So yeah, she's super cool. And then, of course, our amazing friend Sharon became a friend by coming into our community, coming into our world. And Sharon is super, super inspiring. She actually was doing transcription work from home back in New Zealand for years and years. And when the youngest of her 3 sons finally, made his own way in life, she said, what am I doing here? I can actually take my work and go anywhere. And she's super creative. She's got so many great ideas she wants to roll out. And she even said to us here, this is literally what she wrote to us, I don't think I'll ever stop doing the transcription work because it's so interesting. But I'm definitely making time now for my creative project. And if that turns into a roaming income, I'll be doing 2 jobs that I love. So she can say yes or no to the transcription work. So she's cut that back down to say 20 hours. But when she goes and has a big splurge, she'll take on a house sit and, jam pack for, more hours per week to kind of build up the kitty and go and splurge again. So Sharon's really fun. You'll probably meet her somewhere in the world. She's very social. What about Nat and I? I mean, how did we go from just $300 to traveling the world full time for the last 7 years? Well, we've done lots of different things, but what we're most proud of is the creative projects that we've put together that have ultimately ended up helping hundreds of people all around the world. To be honest, we don't often do the full-blown digital nomad thing and going and working in cafes, so this is a rare shot. We do prefer to just stay at home and work from there. But what has happened over the years is we've had the opportunity to meet some really, really successful digital nomads from all walks of life, doing all sorts of things, all sorts of creative projects, course creators, podcasters, YouTubers. But yes, it is all about sitting wherever it is that we are and working from home. So this is like very much the work from home experience. We just get to have homes all over the world to do it. And at the end of the day, all the skills that we've learned, and again, I'll mention just how proud I am of Nat with everything that she's had to learn. She had no background in this whatsoever. Yeah, basically all these skills that we've now learned are 100% what has made us become our own backup plan. So if anything ever happens in the future, we know that we've got what it is that we need to be able to start all over and be able to start making money from anywhere in the world. So our biggest tip for you is to never ever stop learning. And travel itself teaches you to be curious and adaptable, flexible, all sorts of different things. But basically, you'll always learn new things about yourself and your capabilities when you step outside the comfort zone just that little bit, start traveling the world, and start learning how to earn a roaming income online. So let's just do a really quick recap right now. So we've covered how to save massively on your lodgings all over the world with house sitting, how to start finding and booking cheap flights. We've smashed the myth that travel is expensive. Hopefully you've got that. I've embedded that all the way through these slides for you. And we've given you some ideas to think about creating money and having the time to enjoy the travels that you are actually embarking on. So what I want you to do right now is just imagine for a moment that this is your lifestyle and that perhaps you're just enjoying local produce in, say, France. That's one of our favorite places to go to, the local markets. And just being able to mix in a community and get to know people, buy fresh. Or perhaps you just like to be able to get involved in the community projects, meeting the kids, hanging out. Kids are so much fun. One of our best experiences was in Peru at Christmas time. Every time we'd walk down the street, these little cuties would run out and they'd be like, "Hola chica, Feliz Navidad." It was so wonderful. Or perhaps you're avidly involved in volunteer projects like Jacqueline is. She loves going to Chiang Mai in Thailand to work at a dog rescue centre, volunteering her time, helping out. She's actually there now for a month while Glenn's house sitting. Or perhaps you love super variety like Gail and Randy. They love to mix up their house sitting travels with doing workaways. And workaways are such a rich thing to do. It can be not just helping a family or a local organic farm. You could actually be making a huge difference in a community. And the best part is for these guys, what they love the most is the skills that they're learning. I mean, building stone walls like this, I'm sure they never thought they'd be able to do that. Randy was a dentist before he retired, and Gail a teacher, so they're having a ball doing what they're doing. And finally, if you're an avid environmentalist like Doug and Joanna, who literally love going and cleaning up beaches. They wish they didn't have to, but here they are, 4 months in Thailand. They got heavily involved in the community and actually inspired a lot of the locals to get amongst the projects of beach cleanups, which is just awesome. So I really hope I've done my job here in stirring up that wanderlust within you so that you can start to think about how it is that you could be a global citizen, just like we are, be able to be a travel lifestyler. And even if it's just using what you've learned here today to take an adult gap year, like some of the guys I've mentioned, or whether it be to actually go on a search to find out where it is that your dream location is. Now, Eden and Denny, they have an amazing story. If you remember, they first left the US to become expats in Belize and then Nicaragua. But once they moved into international house sitting, they ended up in a place that they never even knew existed. And that is in Egypt. They have absolutely found their dream retirement location. They're heading back there now for a second house sit just to make sure that they're still ticking all the boxes. But yeah, it's a totally different experience to what they ever thought was possible. That's what having a travel lifestyle can do for you. And all you need to do is learn travel hacking, how to get yourself prepared for international house sitting. I do have to tell you right now that it's a lot more competitive than when we first started, but there are some steps that you can take to absolutely get yourself out there. And of course, if you need to, learn to earn from anywhere in the world, which all adds up to becoming a travel lifestyler just like these guys and just like we are.